on WFLA Now. With a specialized degree in climate, Chief Meteorologist and Climate Specialist Jeff Baradelli is pioneering the way we look at climate and extreme weather. Welcome to Jeff's Climate Classroom, powered by ArmorView Window and Door.
All right, welcome everybody to the Climate Classroom. This week we are talking about climate policy. Now, with the outgoing Biden administration and the incoming Trump administration, there are bound to be some big changes in policy to fight climate change. Now, for the climate concerned, Biden's record on climate was mixed. There were some good things and there were also some not so good things, according to the folks who are concerned about climate. But there's some fear that the next administration is going to stall or even reverse progress on tackling climate change. So my guest today, and I'm going to bring him up right here, and also, of course, Val as well. My guest today is here to talk about that. How do we make progress on combating climate change during a time when the politics may very well be hostile? So I want you to welcome Tanner Lloyd. He is the co-leader of the Tampa Bay branch of Citizens Climate Lobby, which is a nonpartisan organization empowering citizens to shape green policy. Thank you, Tanner, for coming.
Hi, Jeff. Thanks for having me on.
All right. You're welcome. And also here is our very own Val Simpson, who is very climate curious, as usual.
That's right. I'm so excited that Tanner is here. I want to hear all about what are some of the things that they were able to accomplish and, what's going to happen next, like you were explaining, Jeff, in your introduction with the new change in administration. But before we get started, I'm always here with my handy dandy buzzer. So just in case the conversation gets a little bit,
goes off the rails?
Yes, we're going to definitely make sure that we buzz. And also, I will be monitoring any questions that you guys might have for Tanner today in terms of any of the topics that we're talking about. Or if you have a question for Jeff regarding climate or weather, he'll be here to answer.
All right. Thank you, Val. I appreciate that.
Yes.
So, Tanner, first things first, tell me about the Citizens Climate Lobby.
So, Citizens Climate Lobby is a nationwide, nonpartisan, nonprofit political advocacy organization, and we advocate for legislation that addresses climate change in a common sense way that tries to make it a win for everybody without burdening any part of the economy or consumers or industry. And so we do that by talking to our members of Congress and encouraging them to look at the data and consider policy that would have a beneficial impact on climate change.
Now, you do it, you're the co-founder of the the co-leader of the local chapter here. This is being done on a national basis as well. So I got a question. First, do you feel like anything that Citizens Climate Lobby has done has really helped get legislation passed or helped to kind of push green initiatives?
So like I said, we work mostly on the federal level with members of Congress, and there were some really good things that we were able to get done this year. We had a big lobby day in D.C. this past June, and we were able to get a lot of momentum, bipartisan momentum, for the Energy Permitting Reform Act. So that has both Republican and Democratic co-sponsors, and what that does, it's gonna speed up the process for clean energy transmission lines and help get that stuff onto the grid faster. And it's going to help that whole process go by smoother.
That's great, Val. This is something that is really a roadblock in progress for solutions for climate change. If you can't add more transmission or get projects permitted fast, then everything takes years and years longer. So the question then, Tanner, is, there's been a little controversy about that. Some people say that there are some bad things in the bill, too. Some people who are climate conscious people are concerned that maybe that bill, although it does have the streamline for approving projects and transmission, I hope. I don't know much about it, so you may have to correct me here. But there's also some other stuff in there that doesn't necessarily work for combating climate, but maybe against it. Can you clarify?
So there are some other things in there that aren't exactly on our platform, like speeding up permitting for liquefied natural gas terminals, easing permitting requirements for mining or offshore drilling. So those things we aren't exactly happy about, but that's the bipartisan nature of the bill, right? We want that Republican support, and all Americans want affordable energy, and some of that comes from fossil fuels. So that is one way we're getting this bill across the finish line, is to acknowledge some of these other parts of the energy landscape that need help too.
So just to get clarification, this means that it's a little bit of everything, what you guys are proposing. You're not steering away from drilling necessarily to to pass the bill. Is that right?
Well, we would prefer to steer away from drilling for sure, but we acknowledge that to get everybody on board, we're going to need to compromise a little bit, and we would rather speed up drilling if it means we can speed up solar and wind and clean energy too, than taking nothing at all.
So this is going to end up being an all of the above approach to energy production. That's basically what it's been under Biden. I mean, under Biden, we passed the biggest climate bill in the world, the IRA, the Inflation Reduction Act, which has created over 100,000 jobs in Middle America. And assuming that bill doesn't meet its demise sometime soon during the Trump administration, it will continue to really propel a lot of new projects across the country and a lot of new jobs. But in addition, during the Biden administration, we're at record levels of oil and gas production. So in reality, Biden has helped the climate. And I say he has a mixed record because at the same standpoint, we're producing more oil and gas than we've ever produced.
Yeah, that's correct. There is a mixed bag there with the Biden performance on climate. We do appreciate the things in the IRA and the bipartisan infrastructure law that gave that federal funding to projects to get them off the ground. The oil and gas industry has been alive and well for over 100 years, and the clean energy industry is, maybe 20 years old. And so it needs a lot more help, and we'll take it even if the other guys get help too.
Right. Okay. That makes sense. So tell me, where is this bill right now? This transmission and permitting bill? What's the name of it, and where is it? Has it been voted on yet?
So, excuse me. So it has not been voted on yet. It is called the Energy Permitting Reform Act of 2024. It did pass out of committee, which is an important big step. A lot of bills die in committee. And what we're hoping for is we're encouraging right now our members of Congress to add that into the government funding bill. That's a must-pass bill. Government funding runs out on December 20th, I believe. And so we're trying to attach this bill onto that government funding so that we can get this across the finish line before the end of the year.
Okay, so there's a chance that could happen?
Yeah, we believe so. We just had another kind of lobby push with our members of Congress this past week, encouraging them all to add this on and acknowledge the bipartisan support that it has.
So then in that case, it would be able to get both Senate and House of Representatives approval because they have to keep the government running, basically.
Yeah, that's right. They're going to have to pass this bill anyways, and we do think that this oil and gas permitting reform is going to happen anyways. So we're really trying to push, to get the clean energy in while we can, because we all know the congressional composition is going to be changing in January.
That's right. Okay, and who's leading the charge on this bill in Congress, or who are the people that have brought the bill to bear?
So I don't have the co-sponsors off the top of my head, but there are a number of them. A significant amount to the point where we didn't even push for any more co-sponsors. It has enough support there. We just need to get this thing signed.
Okay. Val, do you have any questions for him? Of course, the Citizens Climate Lobby does a lot of national work, but they also do local work here in the Bay Area.
Let's talk a little bit about that. What do you guys do locally?
So, yeah, we are pretty involved locally. We like to, a big part of Citizens Climate Lobby is grassroots activism, right? That's what we are. We're just normal people who, have a desire to see change. And so a lot of what we do is informing the public about it. There's a lot of information out there that can be confusing, overwhelming. So we like to go out and do tabling at events, markets. We sell plants and we talk to people about climate change and things that are out there, policies that they can take advantage of. Stuff like tax credits on renewable energy upgrades to their home, or the EV tax credit and certain parameters around that, what it can be used for, what it can't, and just help people understand what is available to them.
Yeah, I think that's really important because there is a lot of money, and some of that money came from the IRA, correct?
Correct, yeah.
So lots of money being sent by the federal government to us here in the state of Florida and all across the country that we can take advantage. Heat pumps might be a good example, right?
Yeah, it's a great example.
Yeah, so give me an example of something that people may not know is available to them right now that they can get a good deal on.
Energy efficient windows. Windows are pretty expensive, but you can go get the good ones. That they block heat from coming into your home, which makes your AC work harder. And the AC uses the most electricity in your house. So by reducing the workload on that AC unit, you can save yourself money and save the carbon emissions that are being generated to power that AC unit. So
well, how much do you get from the government for that?
So it depends on the window or how much you spend, and it also depends on your income level. So these are some things that we talk to people about and kind of understand their personal situation. But so there's a range, and it's usually, I think it goes up to 30% of the value of the window, and that's returned to you in the form of a tax credit when you
That's
do your
pretty
taxes.
cool.
It's a discount off or it comes back on your tax return.
Okay, that's really interesting. So if you're a person who doesn't have a lot of money, you might get 30% back, essentially on your taxes.
Sure, and if you don't pay a lot of taxes, it could take a little to zero tax.
Okay, that's good to know. So how can your organization work at the local and maybe state level to kind of push green initiatives here?
So we do interact, so not so much with CCL, that really focuses on the federal level, but on a more chapter level and individual level, we do talk to our state representatives and encourage them to support clean energy initiatives, things like tax credits for utilities, for example, to speed up the deployment of clean energy resources, and incentivize utilities to reduce carbon emissions. So we try and encourage the state to support that initiative.
And then I guess the next question is, okay, what happens next? We don't know exactly what's going to happen next, but the Trump administration is likely to not be nearly as friendly to climate policy as the Biden administration was. So what are your concerns? What are your hopes? What do you think is possible?
I think it's very possible to defend the IRA. That's a good bill. That's put a lot of money into blue states, red states, communities that need the money. And even if people don't care about climate or carbon emissions or don't see it as a big concern, we can switch the angle to this is about money. This is about saving money and making energy more affordable.
He's right.
And especially here in Florida, being a peninsula, we can only bring power in from one way, from Georgia. And so to have a more resilient grid here that's more hurricane resistant, that's another thing that's important to people too. Clean energy isn't just about saving the planet. It can make a more resilient grid too.
I think those are really good points. He hit on a whole bunch of them because even people that might not be interested in the whole climate situation, I think that when it comes to saving $1, I think that's where you're going to get their attention. So absolutely. But talk to me a little bit more about this grid in Florida because I think that is something that, can we expand a little bit more on that?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, sure. We have a very kind of aging grid infrastructure network here between the various utilities. And we are peninsula. We can only bring power in from Georgia, and we're limited in that way of how much we can bring. And so, by building up the infrastructure here in Florida, and with multiple types of energy, clean energy, that is like solar and battery storage, especially, that can help make us more resistant to blackouts.
Okay.
And in the event that we do blackout, it gives us a lot more options and pathways to get people back on.
So it's a
line
solar
sooner.
grid, what's being proposed, which would work great here in Florida. I mean, we're sunny most of the time, so it's perfect.
Yeah, we do have a lot of opportunity for solar, and
Yeah.
FPL and Duke, I know, are building out a ton of solar. They actually both have net zero by 2040 and 2050 plans. So it's kind of happening anyways, but we want to see that speed up, especially as hurricanes continue to hit this state and damage infrastructure. We would like to build it back stronger.
So I want to go back to something else you mentioned, which is the IRA and saving the Inflation Reduction Act. You know, this is creating, I often say, and I was talking to someone last night, a few people actually, the Inflation Reduction Act, it's a climate bill, but it's really a jobs bill. I mean, it really is a jobs bill and a manufacturing, trying to bring clean energy manufacturing to the United States, enticing businesses to invest here. That's what it really is about. And in the end, it becomes a jobs bill because it's creating hundreds of thousands of jobs. Do you think that is enough ammunition so that the bill doesn't get somehow reeled in or killed by the Trump administration?
I mean, I think it should be. Yeah, I think there's a lot of great things about the bill. I think it's putting food on people's tables. I think it's saving money on their taxes and putting infrastructure back in places that it's long been gone, like the EV battery plant in Michigan, things like that are using IRA money and will disappear. If it's gone, right? Once it's not economical, it's not going to be there anymore.
Do you think the Republican senators and representatives that are in those, because it's mostly red districts, about 80% of the return on investment from this bill is going to red districts. Do you feel like those senators and those congresspeople care about it enough and see the benefit in their local area enough to put the brakes on any kind of, reeling in of the IRA?
Yeah, we hope so. That's, when we talk to Republican members of Congress, we really tried to sidestep the whole partisan nature of the climate and the kind of toxic sometimes nature of climate conversations and focus on outcomes and outputs, and what are we gonna put in its place if we get rid of this, and trying to be realistic about what this does and what happens if it's gone, and show the benefit that way.
Right. Okay. Well, so, listen, we have probably about 5 or 10 minutes left.
Yeah.
Val, I don't know if there's any questions. And for you, Tanner, I don't know if there's anything else that we haven't. We certainly should talk about whatever you want to talk about. Is there anything that you want to bring to the table here beyond what we've asked you?
Well, I would just encourage people to really understand what has been passed and what that means for them. Like the tax credits, for example. When I talked to my member of Congress, Kathy Castor, she said she wanted us to basically spread good information about what people can do to take advantage of these programs, while they have funding, and utilize that to bring down emissions, bring down their costs, and take advantage of these policies that people put a lot of work into passing.
Yeah, it really is too bad that it became partisan, because this bill, the Inflation Reduction Act, I mean, it's going to help with climate change, sure. But I always looked at it, like I said, much more as an economic bill, trying to bring manufacturing back to the U.S. I bring this up a lot, but when I was a kid, my father owned a business in manufacturing women's clothing, and then after that, he worked as essentially the head of some companies that were manufacturing women's clothing. And I watched as when I was young, when I was 10, 15 years old, he would have factories where there were all these people working in America making garments on sewing machines. And then within 10 or 15 years, that was all gone.
Yeah.
It was in Guatemala. Then after Guatemala, it was in Russia. Then after Russia, it was in China. Then after China, it was in Bangladesh. So I watched with my own eyes in a matter of a decade or two how everything was being offshored. So this bill, the Inflation Reduction Act, is an attempt to build a manufacturing hub here in America for essentially the Industrial Revolution, or the Green Revolution, I should say. So very much this is, yes, we talk about it as a climate bill. It gets a bad rep because it's so partisan. But if it weren't partisan, maybe people would realize the benefits of keeping manufacturing here in America and creating more jobs, especially in places that have hemorrhaged jobs when we started shipping all those jobs and that manufacturing overseas.
Yeah. No, I think the bill is making it make sense again from an economical level, right? Because those jobs left because it wasn't economical to stay. And so that's what these bills are trying to change, right? Bring the jobs back, bring the factories back, and we can use these jobs and factories to contribute to a world that's better for us all.
Yeah, it's
All right.
a win-win.
So
for sure.
I guess if there's nothing else, isn't there? I think the most important part of the program is coming up, isn't it?
It is. We've been waiting for this moment,
All right.
Tanner.
What's
Yeah,
going on?
Take it away.
One of the reasons I reached out to Jeff initially was to recognize him for all the great climate change information that he shares in his program. So we do have something for him.
Is this the first time you've ever done this?
It's the first time I've ever done this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, how cool. This is so, I can't believe I'm
We
here
have
for this moment.
it came out really good.
It's like
We
landing
have-
on Val, it's like landing on the moon.
It's like,
We have this award
So-
here.
oh, wow.
Jeff Baradelli is Climate Change Tampa Bay's 2024 Climate Coverage Champion.
that is so cool. Yes.
There we go. Thank
should
you,
punch
Tanner.
punch the camera up at the top so everybody can see it.
Punch the camera up on top.
No,
What do you mean?
you.
Oh, yeah, wait, hold on a second. Wait. I got to figure this out. Oh, wait, there it is. Okay, let's.
There,
It's
show
that camera up
show the award up
there.
there.
See it? You
Yes,
could-
there we go.
you could-
that
yep.
right there, the one that's moving.
All
There
right,
we
in
go,
fact,
guys.
you know what
Look
I'll
at
do?
this.
I'll stand up and you can hand it to
Yes.
me.
Sure.
Okay,
All right?
do it.
Okay.
All right, this is the moment.
And
I'm
we
going to
can
do the
shake hands.
play-by-play, the official
Thanks.
award.
Thank you.
This
Thank
is
you.
so great.
This is great. I'm going to put it up on the wall.
Yes.
Also, am I right? And let me bring us back on camera. Am I right in saying that you said that I also get a brand new Rivian for free?
No, you don't.
So we're working on that. We'll have to get back to you on
Okay.
that.
Oh,
Well, if
okay.
that's the
We
case,
gotta-
then
we
I
gotta
should get
talk to
one too.
finance.
What's the timeline on the Rivian here?
It's we're gonna talk to corporate and
Okay.
finance
Yeah.
about that. It's still in the works.
No, but all kidding aside, Tanner, you're doing such great work. Like, we are so excited to have you here and that we can share this. But also what I wanted to ask you was, all this information, is there somewhere that our viewers can actually go to, maybe your website, that they can find more information from you guys?
So I would say one of the most reliable websites that there is with no nonsense would be the Department of Energy's website. That's who's going to be kind of supervising all these programs and these tax credits for energy efficiency upgrades. And that's where I would recommend going to understand more about what's available.
Perfect. So if you guys are listening in and you have any questions or if you want to find out more, then the energy website would be
Correct.
Yeah.
Department of Energy.
And I would say
Department of
check out Citizens Climate Lobby's website so you can see what they do. And if you want to be involved locally here in the Bay Area, you can contact Tanner, I'm sure. Tanner, is there a way they can contact you?
Yeah, sure. We do have our information on the website. You could just Google Citizens Climate Lobby. You can plug in your name, your address, and your phone number or email, or both. And then it'll look at your address, figure out what chapter you'd be associated with. It'll forward you to our onboarding person who's going to reach out within 24 hours, talk to you about how to get involved, and we'd love to have you.
All right. And one more thing, if you want to read just a little bit more, you can do so by going to our website. The Changing Politics of Climate Change is the article, and it's available on WFLA.com. You just go to the weather tab up top, then you click Climate Classroom, and it should be right there. Tanner, thank you very much for joining us today. Also, thank you very much for this this award, and also the Rivian that I guess is on the way. Maybe it's being driven here right now. I don't know. And of course, Val, thank you as always for livening up the conversation.
always a pleasure.
And thank you, everyone at home, for watching the Climate Classroom. We will see you again next week right here.
Watch or listen to Jeff's Climate Classroom, powered by Armor View Window and Door on WFLA social media platforms, and find Jeff's climate reports on WFLA.com.